Hi guys, this is GameFreak982928 of Total Ponage Incorporated, and welcome to the long-awaited Part 2 of Bayonetta GameFreak982928 versus Anita Sarkeesian. Now, I know you've been waiting for this video for a long time. But hey, at least I didn't take thousands of your dollars and then skip years past the deadline, am I right? Which at the very least makes me a better person than Anita Sarkeesian. Speaking of the lady, you know what happened when I tried to look up her video about Bayonetta just the other day? She took it down. The lady took the video down. Why? Fucked if I know. Maybe she was sick of being told she's wrong? In which case, sorry, honey, but I'll be continuing until the glorious day comes where Anita Sarkeesian admits she's lying and conning people out of thousands of dollars, and when she finally stops brainwashing little children to make them think that the penis is the mark of Satan. The sad thing is, though, I'm pretty sure we have a better chance of living to see the second coming of Christ than having this event happen before our very eyes. But either way, she took the video down. But unfortunately for her, and I'm pretty sure this is much to her chagrin as well, the contents of the video have not been forgotten. See, this is what happens when you get caught in a lie and you try to quickly fix it and pretend it never happened by deleting the video and blocking a whole bunch of people who call you out in your bullshit from social media. It didn't work for Zoe Quinn. It didn't work for Brianna Wu. It didn't work for Tess Holliday. And it sure as shit didn't work for my ex-friend who pretended she was pregnant whenever we got mad at her, would lie about having a miscarriage when she realized she couldn't keep up the charade for much longer, and who now goes on Instagram calling herself the mommy of an angel and is using fake profile pictures to lie about who she really is. Not cool, by the way. Not fucking cool. If Anita Sarkeesian thinks it's gonna magically work for her, she's even more delusional than I already believed her to be. Not to keep bringing up my ex-friend, but she and Anita Sarkeesian have one very big thing in common. They're both making up false narratives to try and get people to like them, and it's a huge slap in the face to anybody who's actually experienced the type of issues that they pretend to have. For my ex-friend, she keeps pretending that she had a miscarriage, and she keeps pretending, going on, talking about how much she misses that child, and how much she loved that child, the child that she was never pregnant with to begin, and keeps demanding pity from her followers. This is a huge slap in the face for any woman who has ever experienced a miscarriage or has actually had a young child die on them. Actually, no, it's more like a slap to the face for any woman who has ever lost a child, be them 7 months old, 7 years old, or 70 years old. And does she care? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Which makes me insanely angry, because she only cares about herself and she will do anything to manipulate the people around her, even if it is make a mockery of something some women actually were forced to go through. And people who manipulate people like that disgust me. But she's not the only one. Anita Sarkeesian plays the exact same game. How? Well, crying sexism at everything she sees and does not like is a huge slap in the face to anybody who's actually experienced real acts of misogyny. And believe me, she literally thinks that everything is sexist. Don't believe me? Here. She says it herself.
everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
No, Anita, not everything is sexist, racist, and homophobic. And no, Anita, you don't have to keep pointing it out. And you certainly do not have to keep making this shit up and making videos about it. But I know her supporters are like, excuse me? Yeah, I totally picture Anita Sarkeesian supporters as the annoying type of people to say, excuse me, and talk like a 5-year-old. But she's actually trying to help. No, she's not trying to help people. She's trying to con people and make money off them. And you know what? Somehow, she's doing it, and somehow nobody's fucking noticed. And you know what? Somehow, people are still giving her money. And even if you don't think she's right, and even if you're just one of those people who remain completely neutral about this thing, and you think, well, I mean, at least she's not hurting anybody, well, guess what?
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
By freaking out over stupid things in video games at the drop of a hat, not only is she misrepresenting legitimate women's issues and taking attention away from those issues by focusing on more frivolous and stupid and not important issues, but she is also ignoring many key parts of these video games that, if they were analyzed by someone who actually knew what they were talking about, could have actually focused on these main serious problems that are actually facing women in this world. And I don't mean just North America, I mean the whole world. But where in the world are we going to find an academic university graduate with a background of analyzing media, such as film, to find and point out these issues? Well, not to toot my own horn, but, toot toot. So we begin where we left off. Anita was freaking out about boobs and lollipops, and then she finally brings us to the main point of her video, advertising, which thus far has very, very seldom even been mentioned in the video, if it's even been mentioned at all. Roll film.
To advertise the release of the game, its marketing company placed 2 6-foot-long banners in Shinjuku Station in Tokyo. This ad featured the Bayonetta logo with a large rectangular space filled with small cards that enticed passers-by to peel them off and take them home. The cards had a lipstick kiss on the front and Bayonetta's gun-strapped leg on the inside. Once a few of these cards were removed, it was clear that Bayonetta was lying naked underneath. She only had her hair wrapped around her body to cover up her naughty bits.
Okay, well, first of all, she's not actually naked if her no-no parts are covered. It's called nude. Not to be a stickler about vocabulary, considering I'm always mispronouncing words and tumbling over my words and even using words that don't make fucking sense in the context and even saying words that don't even fucking exist. I will not do it. They're scan artists after he made a pact with him to spare his life, which ended up ending a few days anyways. Gothic literature. So you know what the Gothic literature did? As a company, because I'm not conformist enough to have Twitter, marries young virgin girls, takes their virginity, subjects them to whips, chains, BDSM before violently murdering him. Hey guys, and I can tell you, turned women into his sexual deviants. Morbid themes. So interesting lesson, Game Freak, but what does this have to do with Brianna Wu not being goth? But believe it or not, I have a degree, and I have a major in English and a minor in film studies, and not only will the English major side of my brain not shut up about it, but it also has something to do with what I'm going to say next. So you guys complain and complain and complain about the female body and how it's portrayed in comic books and video games. Even though the character's naughty bits, and by the way, Anita, I don't know why you still need to use words that we used in fucking kindergarten, because, you know, you can just say, like, breasts and boobs and vaginas and shit like that. Even though the character's naughty bits are all covered up, it's still offensive to you. Well, I'm sorry that you're offended by women's necks, their torso, their legs, pretty much the whole female body. But can I ask you something? Feminists are always going around and promoting the idea that a woman should be allowed to wear whatever the fuck she wants, even if that's nothing at all. They have parades where women literally walk around wearing little to no clothing. They are constantly trying to share pictures on Facebook of women with their, to quote Anita, naughty bits showing. And then they throw these massive tantrums when these images are subsequently deleted, even though they directly violate Facebook's terms of service. Not saying that Mark Zuckerberg is the pinnacle authority on morality, because quite frankly, I think he's a fucking douchebag, but it is what it is. Now, it's important for me to give you guys this one disclaimer. I am not grouping in pro-breastfeeding women and images with the women I am currently talking about. Breastfeeding women legitimately have a reason to be angry when Facebook takes down their pictures of them breastfeeding their child, or when they're going out somewhere and these people say, if you're going to feed your child, you need to go to the bathroom. I agree with breastfeeding women completely, just because when they post a picture of themselves breastfeeding, they're actually doing something productive. And I honestly don't agree with them being kicked out of restaurants or being told that they have to feed their child in the bathroom or in their alleyway because ew boobs. And that ew boobs sentiment is exactly why I have an issue with Anita Sarkeesian and her horde of third wave feminists, but I'll explain that in a minute. All in all, these third wave feminists demand that all sexuality be taken out of their boobs, so they can walk down a street with their boobs showing and not have that reflect on their sexuality, which is fair. I mean, if it's a hot day and you're completely fine walking down a street with your boobs hanging out, more power to you. Go right for it. I'm not gonna try and stop you. Do I think feminists have the right to tell men they're not allowed to be sexually stimulated by this in their brain? Absolutely not. Because that is our culture. And as long as this man doesn't harass anybody or doesn't lay a hand on this woman, what's going on in his head and quite frankly his pants is nobody's fucking business. Especially since we've ingrained boobs are sex so much in our culture. This won't end until women with naked breasts is commonplace and is no longer something that shocks anyone. Kind of like how goths in bigger cities originally was shocking and freaked people out, and now there's just so many of them that nobody bats an eyelash at us anymore. And you know what? I get that that's what feminists are supposedly fighting for, but they are shitting all over their own efforts. How, you ask? Well, how about I bring you right back to this person right here. If these women want breasts in North America to be normalized and not a big deal, then why the fuck do they keep shitting out an egg out of their vagina every time they see tits in films, tits in comic books, tits in video games? Do they not realize that they, the feminists, are the ones causing boobs to be sexualized in our society? Because these women are so obsessed and so concerned about what is going on in a man's head that they do not see the bigger picture. A man finds a video game character or a comic book character sexually attractive. Who the fuck cares? Except for social justice warriors. See, social justice warriors are completely fine with boobs until they are placed in a medium which they think is dominated by men. Which, by the way, is fucking bullshit in and of itself. I've been in video games since I was 6 years old, and I've been dominating these games ever since. Okay. Honestly, I'm not the greatest gamer in the world, so that joke was completely wasted. But video games are a big part of my life. Fuck, arguably, they're the biggest part of my life. But these social justice warriors can't get over the fact that possibly, maybe, somewhere, there's gonna be a man who's turned on by sexy women in video games. Forget that some women are turned on by sexy women in video games. Forget that some women and men are turned on by male characters in video games. Forget that Anita Sarkeesian, yes, Little Miss Objectification is bad, okay, herself admitted in her latest video that she had spent an abnormally ridiculous amount of time trying to peep under Batman's cape to get a shot of his ass.
If some of this footage looks jerky, that's because in some games, trying to get a glimpse of male characters' butts can feel a bit like wrestling with the camera. For the purposes of this video, I tried to get a glimpse of Batman's rear end, but it's as if his cape is a high-tech piece of Wayne Industries equipment designed to cover up his butt at all costs.
For the purposes of this film, my ass, no pun intended. I know what you were really up to, Anita Sarkeesian. Seriously though, why do these women care? These female characters aren't any more objectified than Batman is objectified. There is a big difference between being sexually intrigued by a character or a person and literally treating that character / person like an object. And even if they do see this sexy video game character as an object, who cares? Unless this person treats women in real life like objects, why does it matter? What's the harm? Why are these women trying to control so hard what a man feels? And what happens in his head? And what happens in his pants? Do these people really believe that being sexually stimulated by something automatically turns this person into a rapist or a predator? Hey, social justice warriors, do you like porn? Are you turned on by sexy bodies, be them male or female? Are you a fucking predator or rapist? Because what goes on in your head and in your pants is no different from anyone else. You can hide behind the feminism card all you want, but in the end you're still somebody getting off on somebody else. This is of course obviously excluding all of the actual creeps and rapists that are out there. But believe me, not all rapists are men. Believe me, there are a lot of female rapists out there, and just to piss you off extra, due to female privilege, they usually get away with it. And B, even without sexy women in video games, movies, comic books, these people would still be rapists. It's been proven over and over that media does not turn anybody into a fucking psychopath. No matter how many sexy women are in those mediums. All of your arguments are complete and utter bullshit, especially when you try to rely on that made by men for men shit, because Bayonetta, again, was designed by a woman. And do you really want to get into trying to police what is and is not okay based on the target audience and the genders of the people who created said medium? Do you really want to waste your time deciding when boobs are and are not acceptable? Really? Do you really want to walk that tightrope? Because literally, no matter how you look at this topic, you're contradicting yourselves. Sexy women in video games aren't okay because men are attracted to them and only men play video games? Well, what about the women who play video games? What about all the bisexual and lesbian women who play video games who just as much appreciate the attractiveness of the character? Are you gonna stomp on their rights too? Are you really gonna try and police the gaming community to make sure that only female creators are allowed to create sexual characters and only women are allowed to purchase games with said characters? You're fighting a battle you can't win. You have to make a decision. What do you want more? Do you want boobies to become commonplace and not sexual at all, so you can go outside in the summer topless and not have anybody pay attention to you? Or do you want to keep policing how breasts are portrayed in the media, therefore keeping the taboo and the sexuality surrounding the female body alive and well? You can't do both. That is not how society works. And please, for the love of God, stop peddling this sexualization of female characters versus idealized versions of male characters shtick you guys like to peddle around. There is no difference between a man finding a woman's ass sexual and a woman finding a man's ass sexual. Stop pretending that only men play video games, and stop pretending that video game designers are completely unaware or ignorant to the fact that women appreciate certain things about male characters. Batman's built like a fucking tank. Mr. Freeze's ass is so in your face, it's not even funny, and that's just the Batman games. Since, you know, Anita was so worried about men's asses in the Batman games that she had to spend all that time trying to peep under Batman's cape. Let's continue.
Yes, that's right. Not only is the game created to and encourages players to undress her during gameplay, because it's basically a choose-your-own patriarchal adventure porno fantasy.
Where? Where is the minigame that supposedly says, hey, take Bayonetta's clothes off? You are not encouraged to use those super moves to get Bayonetta nude, and again, not naked. You're encouraged to use the super moves to defeat your enemies. Seriously, there is literally no part in this game where you are told to take Bayonetta's clothes off. It's not anywhere. And you would know that if you actually played the fucking game, Anita. Also, do you even know what a fucking patriarchy is? Because if anything, Bayonetta, a woman, is not only far more capable and competent than any of the male characters in this video game, but also the only two male characters who aren't completely useless or helpless nobodies are Rodin, the guy who sells Bayonetta all her weapons and whose ass you can also kick in the game, or Father Balder, who is the main antagonist of the game, whose ass you also kick in the game. Even if you want to argue the fact that the game takes place in a world controlled by the Lumen Sages, who are headed by a man, thus making the game take place in a patriarchal society, you are a woman taking their power away. You are literally a woman tearing down the patriarchy. How do you not pick up on this shit, Anita? Fucking hell, it's...
But now the advertisers are inviting passersby to physically strip her naked in the subway station.
Okay, just give me a second to choke back the stomach acid that splashes into my throat every single time that woman opens her fucking mouth. Thanks a lot, acid reflux. First of all, just to be extra annoying, nude, not naked. Secondly, nobody is stripping her. You are taking cards away to reveal an image. That's nothing new. You're not taking clothes off. You're not exposing boobies or vaginas, or even a butt, really. And unless, Anita, you're going to throw a temper tantrum about Raiden running around butt naked in a laboratory, aside from him holding his hands over his junk, you clearly do not have a case here. A human body is just a human body. The only thing in this picture is a human body. One that isn't even naked, might I remind you. So why is this offensive again? Would it be just as offensive if it was a picture of Bruce Wayne completely naked except for a Batman mask on his dick? Bayonetta is a seductive character. She is a flirty character. She is a character who is not afraid to show off her body. It's not like they hid a camera in a public shower, took a picture of a girl naked showering without her consent, plastered a picture of it in the subway, covered it with stickers, and was like, hey, you want to see a chick naked? Just peel off these stickers. Have fun. No one is being taken advantage of. No one. And here you have the second decision you people need to make. Is a fictional character meant to be treated like a real human being? Because you seem to think, yes, they should be treated like real people when it comes to how they're portrayed in the media, because them being objectified is such a big problem for you guys. But when a male gamer, or shit, any gamer for that matter, is like, hey, I love that character. I like her backstory, and she does this, and this is how she fights, and this is what she stands for, and she's just so awesome. She's like my favorite character. You're the first to say, that's not a real character, you know. That is literally an object created by men for men, which A, isn't always fucking true, and actually is almost never true, and B, that makes you the objectifier. That makes you the one who is truly objectifying this character. Like, seriously? I had a guy say online to me that he enjoys going to actual strip clubs, watching actual women getting naked, flicking their tits everywhere, fingering themselves, and doing everything they can to make men horny for money. These women are literally objectifying themselves for money. But he was uncomfortable with how a fictional character was being portrayed, and he had to stop playing Bayonetta because he didn't appreciate how Bayonetta was objectified and thought the whole game was demeaning for women. Do you people even hear yourselves talking? Do you realize how stupid the things you are saying really are?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
This goes beyond double standards. We are going straight into crazy lunatic town. But please, Anita, continue on about how my biggest problem as a woman in a first world country is a portrait of a fictional character in a subway half a world away.
Instead of being at least a little bit outraged by this, bloggers all over the internet were celebrating this as an innovative and successful ad campaign.
Because it's fucking genius! I mean, fuck, I want one of those cards too! They look super cool! And I like the posters. I think they're very artistic, to be honest. And even if you don't like the posters, at least you can have a cool piece of memorabilia to take home. I wish more people did shit like this. I mean, think about how fucking cool it would be to go on a subway station and see this wall covered in origami R-wings and just having people peel them away and to reveal a really awesome picture of Team Star Fox in Corneria fighting a giant robot, or even fighting off the Star Wolf team. Not only would the poster be so fucking cool, but who does not want an origami R-wing to take home? I would be all over that. No, seriously, somebody get Nintendo of America on the line right now. Reggie, are you watching this? No, seriously, somebody send Reggie this clip and tell him that he needs to get on that shit immediately. Maybe send him this short clip, though. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna want to watch me read a lying con artist bitch to filth. Seriously, hashtag Paper R-Wing ad campaign. Let's do it, bitches.
Women's bodies are constantly used to sell products, including video games, specifically targeted at young men.
So are you specifically referring to those stupid beer ads or those sleazy posters you see stapled to a light pole from strip joints trying to advertise their strippers? Or does the act of having a remotely attractive woman in your ad constitute as using women to sell products? Because honestly, all of the sexy ad campaigns I see are aimed at women. Victoria's Secret, female undergarments, Chanel, women's perfume. Those ads full of women having orgasms in the goddamn shower are used to sell hair products for women. I know there are a lot of trashy ads out there, but they don't account for nearly the total amount of sexy women in advertisements aimed at women. Because when somebody wants to sell makeup or lingerie or hair products or anything aimed towards women, they use this subconscious trigger in their ads that make women think if they buy these products, they'll be just as pretty or sexy as the woman in the advertisement. Yes, these ads can be dangerous, but not because men are getting boners. It's because these ads take a huge toll on the impressionable minds of young girls. I think this clip from Zoolander says everything that needs to be said about this topic, though.
When I was in 7th grade, I was the fat kid in my class.
Ew.
All right, forget it.
No.
Be cool, come on.
I'm sorry. Please, go ahead. My mistake.
I was the one that all the pretty girls used to make fun of. It was an awkward phase. Anyway, every day after school, I would come home and, I'd flip through the pages of my mom's Vogue and Glamour, and I'd look at these women, these perfect, beautiful, just unbelievable, skinny women. I just couldn't understand why I didn't look like them. I just didn't get it, so I became...
What?
bulimic.
You can read minds.
But this interactive ad campaign takes objectifying women's bodies to a whole nother level by asking people to actively participate in doing misogyny.
Taking a card off of a poster with a nude woman on it is not hatred of women. See, this is why I brought up my ex-friend in the beginning. Just as her using a death of 100% fake, made-up child for attention is a slap in the face to every single woman who has ever lost a child, so too is parading a false equivalency of an ad campaign to something like misogyny is a slap in the face to anyone who has ever been through real misogyny. I mean, seriously, ask a woman in the Middle East who has been beaten, raped, murdered, stoned, ordered around her entire life, pulled out of education to marry somebody 2 to 3 times her age against her own will. Ask them just how much this fucking poster in a subway station affects her life, because I'm sure she'll say that that poster is the root of all the fucking evil in her life. Seriously, if you want to learn about real issues some women in the Middle East have to go through, read the graphic novel Persepolis by Marjan Satrapi. Not only does it tell the story of real issues men and women have to go through in a war-torn country, but it'll give you some insight as to why I personally consider Anita Sarkeesian and all of her fanboys and girls to be not only self-centered and selfish, but completely fucking delusional. Women in the Middle East are being beaten, raped, murdered, stoned to death for stupid things. But no, the root of all strife for women in the world is fucking tits in video games. But more on that later on in the video.
The ad encourages participation in physical harassment.
Dude, where? I don't see anything in this whole thing that says go out and harass women. What the fuck? How does picking up a card to reveal an image of a fictional character in any way say go out and physically harass women? Seriously, is the Japanese text in the corner saying harass women or something? God damn it. This is just like in fucking English class when the teacher is like, you need to pay attention to every single detail in this sentence. The curtains being blue clearly reflect the depressed state of the author as he wrote the novel. And then you go and ask the actual fucking author and he's just like, the curtains are fucking blue. Reading subtext can give some very interesting perspectives into certain stories, especially when that subtext was made to be read, but this is literally straight up just making shit up. This is literally saying, oh, this poster of Bayonetta straight up insinuates that Bayonetta is an item and you need to strip her down naked because men are better than women and tits and vaginas and sexism and all this shit. And the person who designed the ad campaign is like, dude, it's a picture of Bayonetta because we are advertising the game of Bayonetta that stars the character Bayonetta. What the fuck else were we going to put on that picture?
And this is especially alarming in context of how women are treated in Japanese subways.
Let me guess, Anita, you're a expert in Japanese culture. Are you going to try and tell me that all this harassment and the treatment of women in Japan is because of 2 fucking advertisements on a subway? Really?
In 2008 in Tokyo alone, there were 2,000 reported cases of men groping women. And that's only the amount that was reported. In another survey, 64% of women reported being groped on trains and subways.
Okay, now here's the issue that I have with Anita Sarkeesian's statements. I looked everywhere. In her video description, on her webpage, fucking everywhere. And abso-fucking-lutely nowhere did I see any sources that point to where she got this information. So not only can I not find out what the polling demographic was, aka how many people and exactly who were actually surveyed, but also because of this, I can't find out exactly how many women had said they had been groped in subways. 64% of how many women, Anita? How many women took this supposed survey? Because if it was like 100 people and 64 of them said they had been groped and also live in a shady area where they are more likely to be groped, that's still 64% and it's still a lot of the people, but it's nowhere near the total population of Japan. It doesn't even account for how many people in Japan actually take the subway, and how many of those people are women. Do you even know how many people live in Japan, Anita? 126,919,659 according to the 2015 census, which you can even find yourself on Wikipedia. So basically, if even over 2,000 women in Japan have reported being groped, it's not a huge portion of the Japanese population. Not excusing it, of course, for those of you who need to be constantly re-fucking assured that just because I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid doesn't mean that I'm pro-grope or that I think groping is okay or anything like that. Because with these people, every second sentence in your argument has to be, I don't think harassing / beating / raping women is okay, because if you don't constantly talk about how bad wrong badong these things are, they say, well, you did mention it once, but you didn't spend time, talking at length about how bad it is, so clearly you support it. So no, groping a woman without her permission is not okay. But it doesn't seem like this huge epidemic that you're making it out to be. As for this 64% you're quoting, unfortunately, because you're more worried about running your mouth than you are telling people where you got your information, we'll never know who the women polled were, how many people that is compared to the Japanese population, or even when this survey took place. It could have been years ago, for all we know. Words everywhere, but not a source to cite, Anita. And for those of you thinking that this is a one-off mistake, it's not. She literally doesn't cite sources ever. Unless those sources are from feminism web pages or from her own articles, because we can't use that stuff against her. We're so close to the end of this nightmare, I can taste it. Thank God.
The harassment of women is so bad that the subway system even introduced women-only passenger cars as a way to curb this sexual harassment. Women's-only passenger cars have been introduced in many other places such as Egypt, Taiwan, Brazil, and Mexico, and frankly I'm surprised we don't have them in the US because the levels of harassment that women face here as well.
Gyms in North America have the women-only sections, and from what I gather, it's not because women are being harassed. It's because some women find it more comfortable working out with just other women as opposed to working out with men. Which, by the way, they're not necessarily more comfortable just working out with women than they are men because they've ever been harassed. When I had a gym membership, and yeah, I know, I get it, that's really fucking hard to believe. Yeah, no. But at once upon a time, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I actually had a gym membership. I used to work out in the women's only section because, well, I'm fat. I've never been harassed at the gym. Well, I mean, I've never been harassed at the gym by men. Once upon a time, I used to go to the Curves gym here in Gander. This was like years ago. I think I was like 14. And almost every single woman who was there, at least whenever I went in, was over the age of 40. And they'd just stare at me with this unbridled hatred in their eyes. Of course, this was absolutely no surprise to me because this is Gander, and Ganderites tend to be kind of, you know, assholes. And needless to say, after a while, I literally just stopped going because I couldn't deal with it anymore. And aside from the occasional trip to the military gym, I've never been in a gym in Gander ever again after that. But, as I said, it was 40-year-old soccer moms, moms of the people who made fun of me in school, people like that used to harass me. Well, they wouldn't harass me, they'd glare at me because they didn't think I was old enough to be at a gym. But they were the ones who made me feel extremely uncomfortable, and it wasn't men. Because this was a women's only gym. I've been far, far more productive in gyms that allow men to go there than I was at this woman's only gym, which I found out afterwards. They supported funding anti-abortion things, which I am absolutely 100% not fucking okay with. Like, anti-abortion, like, people who call themselves pro-life but are anti-abortion are complete and total hypocrites. But that's a video for another day. But me working out in the women's only section had absolutely nothing to do with men. I usually went there because it was more empty. Usually there was like a couple people working out there. And this gym was for people my age. So like the few people who were in the women's only section, they were pretty much my age, so I didn't have to worry about them glaring at me with eyes of flame and claws coming out and shit like that, you know. But you know what? Many women, if presented with women's only gyms, train stations, anything women's only pretty much, they might be more inclined to use the women's only faculties for personal reasons. But not all those reasons equate to them having been harassed or assaulted by men. So you can't just assume that's why they're using it. Nor can you assume that that's the reason they've been implemented. Maybe some genius at corporate head office was like, hey, I believe that we might have a demographic market for women who do not take subways or go to the gym because they don't like being around men, or they don't like doing these particular things around men. If we implement women's only faculties, they'll be more inclined to purchase our product. Fucking genius, right? I mean, with the waves and waves of third wave feminists who complain about friggin' men spreading, who complain about fucking men sitting on a chair without tying their legs to each other. I bet if they were to rely on them alone, they would make a small fortune off of women's only cards. And that, combined with all the other reasons that these women would use these carts, that's probably like triple or quadruple the amount they'd be making in the first place. So sometimes, Anita, these things are not implemented because people had their feelings hurt or because men are rapists or anything like that. Sometimes head office just does stuff because they can make money.
Harassment is at such epidemic levels that they've even put up advertising campaigns and public service announcements in the Japanese subways.
Well, that's one way to look at it, but another way to look at it is that just because they took out these ads, they didn't do it because they truly believe that every man on that subway is a fucking pervert. Shit, you see anti-theft and anti-shoplifting signs everywhere when you go into a major department store. It's not because everybody who goes in is a shoplifter, and the only way they can stop everybody from being a shoplifter is by putting signs up. Again, we lack the numbers that we'd need to prove that your epidemic of men groping women is as big of an epidemic as you're making it out to be. I have a seriously hard time believing that every single man who takes a subway is a fucking rapist and is a fucking pervert. And if you provided me with the statistics to back up what you're claiming, then yes, I'd agree that you have a point, that there's this serious epidemic going on and something needs to be done. So because of that, in the case of Japanese men versus third wave feminism, I'd have to declare the defendants. And finally, we have these parting words of stupidity.
While there's action being taken to try to curb this behavior, such as the women-only passenger cars and the public service announcements, right next door is this Bayonetta ad that is encouraging this predatory behavior.
Are you seriously going to insinuate that all of this is happening because a poster encourages it, which, you know what, actually, no. I have spent countless minutes talking about how this poster promoting the idea of groping and sexual assault is complete and utter bullshit. I'm not going to spend another second on it. Rewind and pay attention again if you don't understand what I'm trying to say. I will say one thing though. If this poster and similar posters are the only reason women are being groped and assaulted on the bus, why is it that even in countries that don't have these types of advertisements, women are still getting assaulted? And if one or two posters like this is enough to encourage men to grope every woman he sees, which, by the way, again, it says nowhere on the poster, grope women, then how is 500 plus don't grope women signs clearly not getting men to stop groping? If a poster had that much power, then why are women still being groped when there are hundreds and hundreds of posters all over the world, I'm sure, saying groping women is a crime, hands off? Unless posters don't actually have a direct influence on what people do. Okay, so I'm gonna do something that maybe one or two of you saw coming, maybe all of you saw coming, but if not, here's a surprise for you. This video is now a 3-parter. The essay for this video is 12 pages long. It's over 5,000 words. After filming and editing this, I will be very, very brain dead. And I know I've completely finished ripping apart Anita's video and destroying any credibility she had over anything that she said in said video. And quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, anything else she has to say about anything else. She's a liar, we know this. But I want to go over something that I've only touched in this video. And that is Anita Sarkeesian wasting people's time by making up problems when she could have used this video about this game to bring attention to real issues facing women today, had she not been wasting everybody's time making up problems. Bayonetta should not be seen as a game about objectifying women. It should be seen as a game encouraging women to break free of societal norms and being whatever the fuck they want to be and doing whatever the fuck they want to do. But because Anita and all the other SJWs out there in the world only give a shit about themselves and other white women in North America, all these themes were completely ignored. But then again, since when did social justice warriors care about anything to do with women who are actually being oppressed and who actually need help? Because social justice warriors are 99.9% of them spoiled, white, college-age chicks who have never had to fight for anything in their lives, but they still feel bad, so they need to find different ways that they're oppressed, because they can't blame themselves for their own problems. So there's gonna be a part 3. Hopefully you won't have to wait another year for it, but at least I'm not taking your money. So this is GameFreak982928 of Total Ponage Incorporated. Thank you for your patience waiting for this video, and I will see you guys next time.